Hey y'all, out on the patio. Thought I would stop in and say hey. Today I want to talk about remote proctoring and this new SHRM examination fee. So if anyone here is going to be taking their exam remotely, if that's you, for this testing window or testing windows going forward, listen up. So earlier this year, SHRM made some changes in terms of remote proctoring. And not anything significant in terms of how they administer the remote proctor, but they are now assessing fees for those of us who do the remote exam and maybe we experience some sort of difficulty or setback. Okay, so there is now a $66 fee if your exam is interrupted or there's some sort of error that is the fault of the examinee. That's you and me, right? The test taker. And SHRM can charge you an additional $66 if one of these things happens, okay? So basically, if there's some sort of like technical problem on your end, it could be internet or bandwidth related. It could be your computer not working. This is why I talk about having a secondary backup computer that you need in the event that something like this happens. But SHRM is putting their foot down and saying, like, if you have a technical problem with like internet or your computer's not working, it's not working, they can charge you a fee. They can also charge you a fee if you accidentally hit submit, but you haven't yet finished the exam. If you want to continue the exam, they could charge you an additional $66 fee. That last one is not just remote proctoring. That is in-person, on-site testing, and or remote proctoring. So what are some ways to avoid this $66 charge that SHRM has recently announced? They're calling it examination error. Basically, what you need to do is 24 to 72 hours. Honestly, the more in advance you prepare and test your equipment, the better you are. I would encourage you to really think about bandwidth. So not only are you going to need to have a door and a quiet place to take the test in general, but you need to have a space that has fast internet, because according to this new change, if your internet goes out, if Spectrum here at my house goes out, if I want to retake the exam, I could be subjected to a $66 fee. So a couple ways to avoid this. Number one, I would plug in or cable in to the internet. So that's plugging in directly to the modem and not relying on Wi-Fi. You could also utilize your phone as a backup in the event that something goes south, because, internet drops from time to time. But the most reliable source is when you're cabled in directly to your modem. Another option is to go to the office or to stay at a hotel or to rent some space, like a co-working space, like rent a room or something for the course of your exam. I would say that corporate spaces normally have better and or more reliable internet. And that is because they normally have a backup battery. So if something goes down or something happens, they are fully prepared. And you can use a service like Peerspace, Peerspace, that is going to help you find a office or space to be able to quietly take the exam. So the bandwidth thing, I think, is a really important one to address. Number two is the software needed to take the exam. And this means that you need to have it installed and tested on your computer. And I don't just think one computer, but I think two computers. It's nice to have a backup computer. For example, I have my laptop here, but then I also have another computer in the office, in my home office, that I could use in a pinch. And so I would work to have both of those tested in the event there was a problem, and to have that secondary computer available so that if you needed to quickly switch it out, you can. This is important because you're already experiencing stress and anxiety. It's a natural thing, like getting ready for the exam, but then actually having the exam. And you want to make sure you're in the best frame of mind for the exam. And so when we have things like technical errors, those can really mess with like your flow, your psyche, all that energy. And I don't want you to undo all the good things that you've been working on and working towards. So have that secondary computer. It is really important that if you're a Mac user, there's different software. It's a little bit more complicated. So give yourself time and space to be able to test it out and or call in support if you need before the exam, okay? This is not going to be, when you do remote proctoring, you are agreeing to be the technical support for yourself. So you need to do all this work beforehand to make sure it works. SHRM has resources and information on software and requirements for your computer, the recommended extension or browser to work in, those sort of things. So you're going to have all that information. You just need to go and get it and then make time and space to be able to test it out. If you're not super technical, maybe remote proctoring, remote testing is not for you. You might want to look at rescheduling and going ahead and taking your exam in a in-person facility. And I've done the in-person, fantastic. Remote proctoring, I also love because I can be in the comforts of my own home. So not only as a student do we have to worry about making sure that the space is clear of like words and it's got a door on it and it's secure and it's only has one monitor, just your computer, not an extra dual screen, that now you also have to be responsible for all the technical components of those things. And so this fee gives SHRM the ability to charge you additional money because it is time that they've invested. They're likely paying the testing company for this proctor's time, and they're losing revenue because of technical problems that are by us, the exam takers. The other way that you would maybe be charged is this submitting your exam before you're done. There are two parts of the exam. So really you have two opportunities to have extra caution here, okay? Proceed with caution. Section 1 of your exam is going to have half those test questions, right? You will have 1 hour to take that portion of the exam, and then when you're all finished, you will submit. If you submit too soon, before you've answered all the test questions, and SHRM decides to, they can reschedule your exam and you might have to pay this fee. Same for the other side of things with the second half of the exam. It's the same thing. In the second half of the exam, you'll have test questions and at the end you'll submit. Now you can't go back after you hit that submit button. That's just, they physically can't. There's no technology. They have to reschedule the exam. So this is why they're baking these things in, because it is happening to quite a few of the remote testing students. And I see it every testing window. Again, this is a new addition to try to combat those kind of things. So if you're not technologically savvy and or don't handle situations well under pressure, it might be worth your time and energy and your investment preparing for this exam to reconsider remote testing. And rescheduling your exam is relatively easy in the scheme of things. You're just going to go back into the certification portal, back into the testing, and look at available times. And then start to search for in-person testing facilities. Some, they have regular business hours. You might have to travel. I have heard of people having to travel from like Florida to Alabama, like a couple hours for testing centers. They're in most metropolitan areas. But right now, with so many people taking their exams, whether it's SHRM or some of the other programs that the testing centers support, you might have a limited space to be able to do that. And you might not be able to get your dates and times. I will tell you a funny story. When I was taking my SPHR many, many years ago, we had in-person testing. That was the only option because this is relatively new, right? And so I was supposed to go on vacation to Hawaii, to Honolulu. And my study partner did not pass her exam. She took the exam about 2.5 weeks before I was supposed to, a couple weeks. And it freaked me out. It freaked me out. I did not feel prepared. She is a smart and capable person, so I really started to second guess myself. So I did the only thing that I could do, and I thought, okay, I'm going to look for additional testing dates and times. The problem is the only time to take the exam that was available was while I was on vacation in Hawaii. So instead of taking the exam before I went on vacation, I took an extra 3 days, like traveling there and then in Hawaii to study for the exam. I remember studying on the beach. And then my family, including my husband and my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, and my husband's grandma drove me to downtown Honolulu to the testing center to take the exam. The other thing that I have yet to mention is this also happened to be on my birthday. But it was the only available testing date option. Fortunately for me and my family, it was a happy ending. I ended up passing my SPHR, thank goodness. I remember walking up to the car. We didn't, cell phones weren't the same back in those days, I guess. So I didn't text anybody to let them know. But I walked up to the car and I was like trying to look stone cold disappointed. So they would all think like the worst happened. But then I got in the car and I was like, yes, I did it. So rescheduling is definitely an option, but you're limited to the window. SHRM typically does not allow for anything outside the window. Once the window is over, February 15th, it's closed. And a lot of people over the next few weeks are going to freak out like I did, reschedule their exam for remote or in person, and they're going to make it be February 14th or February 12th or whatever. So that time is going to be limited. So I would encourage you to really think through your plan and strategy. And if you're going to reschedule, you probably need to think about that now while spots are available and open. In the last testing window, I had a student that I was doing one-on-one coaching with. She was not yet ready. So we looked at the calendar and the schedule, and the only day that she could take the exam that was available was July 4th. So during the Independence Day, national holiday here in the US, she went into the office because it was going to be quiet. The internet was strong, and she took her exam. Thankfully, it was good news. She passed her HR certification exam, and I couldn't have been more thrilled for her because this woman was going through all the life changes at once, really. She was relocating offices, moving to a new space. She was temporarily living with her parents before she moved into her new place. So it was just an incredible amount of stress and the holiday all on top of things. But she was able to have a positive result, which is what I also hope for you. I'm talking about this $66 examination fee because I want you to be prepared. I haven't heard anybody else discuss it. It is listed on the SHRM certification website. So shrmcertification.org, that information is listed there. It's kind of like a caution at the top of the page, but this is a new change that has just been instituted or initiated. And I want to make you aware that if you do one of these 3 things that I've outlined and are not able to complete the exam, there is a possibility that they will charge you the $66 fee. I support HR leaders with their HR certification prep, and we have a couple different things that I want to chat with you about real quickly. We have our online subscription, which is called ACE the HR exam. It's a monthly subscription. So let's say you're testing and you have 45 days. It's still an opportunity for you to go into our platform and get access to all the things. You get video, audio lessons, digital downloads, online and printable flashcards, 140 lessons of resources, and they're all organized by topic. So like we have a union safety and risk section. Then we have like a diversity, equity, and inclusion section, employee engagement. We have all the sections, and the goal is for you to understand and identify and review all the information in there. We have corresponding test question categories as well. I have a test question bank with over 1,100 test questions, and it is part of ACE the HR exam. You can sign up. It's a month-to-month subscription. If you signed up today, let's say today is the 15th of the month, I will charge you again on the 15th of next month. So if you cancel on the 14th, you're only being charged for the 1 month. But it's a monthly subscription if you choose to select that. And the other option for you is if you have a study prep program that you're already loving and enjoying, but you need more test questions, I do have our test question bank available for purchase, and you can have access for 12 months. It's HR Practice Test, and you can go to hrpracticetest.com. We have situational judgment test questions included in this. Questions are organized by topic. You can take them as many times as you want. There's over 1,100 test questions inside of there, all for the SHRM exams. And these test questions are complicated, tough, and as much like the SHRM exams as they can possibly be. ACE the HR exam, our subscription includes the HR practice test. So if you're like, I am okay with all of it, you can get access to everything. And it starts at $49 a month. Although I am increasing the price in 2024 to $89 a month. So you can head on over there to lock in your price at acethehrexam.com. I'm Jess. I help HR certification. I help leaders pass and achieve their dreams in HR with our HR certification exams, SHRM and HRCI. HR certification can increase on average your salary by $15,000 just with the certification alone. I help you do that by studying in less time and having a positive result sooner. No more having to take the exam 2 or 3 times. Students who are in our ACE the HR exam program for at least 90 days, there's a 95% pass rate. Our method works, and as an HR leader with over 20 years of experience who has taught many of the other courses, I can tell you that there is no program that presents the material and organizes it in a way as this. That's acethehrexam.com. Let me know if you have any questions. Head on over to the SHRM certification website if you want to see the information on the examination error fee of $66. It is there. It is a real thing. Just be prepared if it happens, because it might happen to you. So make sure that you're prepared and organized with multiple technology options. Things are tested beforehand so that you don't have to deal with the added stress of all those things, and you can give all your energy to achieving your goal, which is passing your SHRM certification exams. Best of luck. I'll see you soon.